Okay, so here we go. Where we start with in building this offense. Okay, first, listen. If whether you're an under center guy and you want to go to the gun, or you just want to move offenses, you got to get complete belief and buy-in. Okay, and how do you accomplish that? Well, one, success helps certainly, right? Two stories I'll tell you. When I arrived at Washington Lee to run this offense, coming from the high school ranks, was a little tougher getting complete buy-in. But it happened. I took over an offense that was more of a spread, the slinging around the yard, base run game with some inside zone. But if they can tell you when you're genuine, your players know when you're genuine. I truly believe that what we do is impactful and dynamic, and we're going to score points you buy in. They'll be able to really see that in you. And so you've got to believe it, truly believe it, and that will create buy-in from your players. Okay. Secondly, hey, you got to find ways to sell this, right? Whether if you're under center or gun, for us, going to the gun helped us sell this. Being more explosive helped us sell this. Up tempo helped us sell this. Having a more dynamic passing game, though we don't pass it probably much more than any option team in the country. Okay, but our passing game is probably a little more dynamic. Helped us sell this, and so I think it's one of the biggest really growths for me as a coach as I transition from under center to this gun scheme that we're in today, which is, we're 10 years into this, is the ability to sell it. We can recruit pretty talented quarterbacks. They don't see themselves in this under center option scheme, and it's really helped us in our recruiting phase. It helps us recruiting receivers, and we need those guys to make plays. They're important to our program. They're important to our offense. Third part here, and this is forever ever changing for you. Complete understanding, guys. We have to understand what we're teaching. We have to understand what we're coaching. Now, I'm the head coach here, so it's easy for me to say that. It's easy for me to lead that because I make the decisions on what we're doing offensively and how we're directing that. But you've got to make sure that your staff understands. Your staff is coached. I'm not just our head coach here. I'm offense coordinator. So it's my job to make sure right down the line from our running backs to our slots, to our tight end receiver group, to our O-line, everyone understands what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how it's going to impact our offense and our program. Complete understanding means not just understanding the lines on the diagrams, the X's and O's, but understanding why we're doing it, the purpose of it. So there's a complete understanding. We tell our guys all the time, you need to understand the complete concept of the play, why we're doing it, how we're going to get there so we can be at our best. And I think that is really important. And in us establishing that as leaders in our program, our defensive coordinator does the same thing. It really helps us grow as a program. And it's, my staff is a pretty young staff. And that's my choice. Not because I think young coaches are dynamic and their social media, they certainly do a much better job than some of us older guys. But I wanted a staff that I knew I could mold and groom. I wanted a staff when we got to Davidson that I knew wanted to be a part of this change. I didn't want a lot of jumpers and chasers of bigger dreams. So I hired young guys that I knew that would be committed to our beliefs. And if you can go, I have great guys who could go. Now we've broken a lot of records offensively. I have guys that could go on and probably get bigger jobs at this point, and they've chosen to stay with us. I feel very blessed, and they understand it now. Now they can carry that same torch forward. Got to continue to be open to grow. I hope I learned something these 2 or 3 days. I listened a little bit last night about belly option. We don't do a lot of belly option out of the gun. I'm trying to figure out how can we incorporate that, right? So I'm trying to grow still. And then coach and lead with your beliefs and be aggressive with that, okay? I think that's important. How can you be aggressive inside your offense? Offense is meant to attack. And so we've got to figure out how to do that inside an option world. Okay. I love this quote here. The mind is just like a muscle. The more we exercise it, the stronger it gets and the more it can expand. I truly believe that. And I've had to do that because I'm not the smartest guy. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. So I have to keep learning, keep poking in my brain to grow. And at any point, and I'm sure the feature's on. I know that there's some unique features here, but if you have a question to this, don't hesitate to stop me. All right, let's dive a little bit into our personnel. Okay. So, and I know this probably is some of the stuff that will interest you more. I did really feel it's important to give you some backdrop on who we are, how we get there, what our beliefs are, and why we do what we do, right? Because if you're going to do something similar, I think it's important for you to ask yourself those questions and really put that down on paper, okay? So let's start with our upfront guys. And what do we look for? And when I tell you this, we don't always get, when I tell you our average test score, SAT 2 parts of 1,300, our average ACTs are 30. So that's our average. That means most of our guys are just above that or slightly below that, right? Everybody's between, I'll just tell you, everybody's between that 28 and 34 area. I don't know if we have anybody with 35, maybe. We did get a kid we had a kid with a 35 who got denied last year, just to give you an idea, right? So we don't always hit these marks, but these are what we deem important for the different personnel groups. And you can build these, they're there in your program, I guarantee it. Okay. So, hey, centers, I think the first thing, we use this analogy a lot. They start the car, they hold the keys. If you're going to be a gun-oriented option team, this is very important, right? You got to have confidence in your center. They have to have the ability to be consistent and snapping. We work on it every day. Our centers and quarterbacks, the first 5 minutes on the field is a snap, quarterback, center exchange every day. Okay. Our guards, we do put a little more premium on our sides in our program. We want our guards to be a little bigger. They don't have to move quite as well as our tackles or our centers, but we want them strong. I use the word sturdy a lot, but the disposition is a big key, right? They need to be nasty inside. Let's be clear, right? They're setting the post on a lot of double teams. They are the guys that are trying to really fight those 280, 300-pound D linemen, which we see in our league, right? We played a non-conference scholarship program last year who had a nose guard at 310, 6'4", 310. We rushed for 520 yards. Okay. Now my center was 260 and my guards average about 280. Okay. So, that's good for us, right? We have some guards that maybe are going to be a little bigger as we grow, right? But that is what we put premium on with our guard position, that disposition to be nasty, move that line of scrimmage. Our tackles, we care about their length. We want them a little longer, okay? We want them athletic. I love guys that maybe have not found their niche at tight end because they're not quite fast enough, not quite agile enough, but maybe that 6'4", 6'5" frame that are 230, they can get themselves up to 255, 260 that can move. They make great tackles for us, as I'm sure they probably do for you guys, okay? We do some creative things with our tackles. We don't necessarily play a left and right scheme, but the part of them being athletic enough to move is really important, okay? And I think that is above else their size. If they can move, they can have a chance to be successful for us. Our tight end position, it will start with their disposition, right? We use our tight ends a ton. They're very important in our program. I said it earlier that I think one thing that makes us unique compared to a lot of option teams, our willingness to use a tight end, right? The flex bone world, and I played with it, and I was good with it when I had really talented guys, and didn't play a tight end much. But as you don't quite have that game changer in the backfield, you got to create different gaps. You got to create different looks, and the tight end gives you that ability to do that. Okay. It also helps me in calling a game, right? Defense will set their fronts to the tight end.
Coaches, Rick Stewart with allaccesscoaching.com. I really hope this video helps make you a better coach. Make sure you hit the subscribe and like button down below so we can let you know when new content becomes available, because we're all about coaches helping coaches. And remember, coach, better today, never as good as tomorrow.